Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. Check this out. This is a Williams Jumpin' Jacks pinball machine that we picked up a couple years ago off of a guy on Craigslist. And it had been painted solid white, so we painted it two-tone to make it look a little better. But the original artwork was long gone. It looks a lot better now that we've got it all so fresh and so clean with the paint on it. And it's a really interesting machine, in my opinion. The theme's crazy. I don't know what year this is, but I would guess early 60s. I'll look it up. Jumpin' Jacks. And so it's there's all these cool little characters. It's a Williams. Game over. Too bad. Try again. Gee, a double flip. So he's checking out the chick on the horse. This guy's the ringmaster, I guess. And then you've got... How you doing? You got some acrobats that are dressed up like rabbits. Ball and play. And then the back glass is dominated by this Playboy bunny girl here. And so the Playfield, it's in decent shape. A little bit of wear down here by the flippers that we might repaint a little bit of. So you got two girls jumping. So that's like the sling, you know. So, and then this girl over here. It's got a couple gobble holes, it looks like there, or I guess those are gobble holes. I haven't taken it apart yet. The ball goes up in there. Now you're flipping. Got some pop bumpers, or I guess jet bumpers, the yellow and red ones, and then the green ones are dead bumpers. You just get points on those. I like it. I think it's going to be a really cool game. Oh, one thing I noticed about it. It's a two-player, but look how they put the first player up there and the second player down here. That's kind of neat. Usually they don't do that. Usually it's symmetrical. And then another thing, this one's old enough that it's one of the ones that you load the ball. So the ball doesn't shoot out to the hole. It lands in the trough. And then you push this, which pushes a little lever. Push the ball to the top. Old school, baby. That's kind of... I need a little work there. Okay, so let's pull it out so we can look behind it. Okay, so first player score reels, there's only 3 of them, and there's a dummy number on there. So there's only 3 score reels for the first player. And then the second player is down here. The score reels are a lot bigger than they were later. Replay unit. The 1-point change relay. Boy, I hope I got the schematics for this. This is the match unit. This is the ball count unit. Okay. There's 3 sets of Jones plugs that aren't plugged in yet. First player relay. Second player relay. Yeah, they do these a little different. Number of ball adjustments, 3 or 5. Number match adjustment, on or off. And then you have these 5 relays here that aren't labeled, or the label's falling off. Nope, I'm wrong. It's on the back. First player score reset relay, second player score reset relay, 1-point relay, 10-point relay, and I guess this would be the 100-point relay, maybe. Boom, 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 boom. Everything's nice and clean. It still had the door on it. If you buy a game that's been sitting a long time, if they had the door on the head, it helps you out a lot, because it keeps a lot of dust out of it. If they've been storing it with the door off, all of this stuff will be covered in dust. All of these wires will be faded. See how I can see the colors of everything? And see how they're just barely different? Like there's an orange and black, there's an orange and green, and an orange and yellow, and an orange and white, right? All of those would be varying shades of white if the back door had been left off for many years. But since they left the back door on, it's in a little bit better shape. All right, so let's look inside the cabinet. Had a big old sheet of plate glass in it, and the top corner was cracked. That's not even 1/4 inch. I mean, that's like 3/8 of an inch. Big old sheet of glass. We're going with the more standard. So this is what we've got going on inside. You can see the trough I was talking about. Whenever the coil pulls in to start the game, it releases the ball. Then you push the lever, which pushes it up to the top. So it had been turned up on its end, and a bunch of stuff had fallen all over the inside of the cabinet. A lot of it's down there at the end. We'll look through all that. But everything looks pretty good. The lock relay's been a little hot at some point, but that's how they are. They run a little hot. Everything under the Playfield looks pretty good, except for this one flipper. Looks like maybe it's gotten kind of hot. So it might be good or it might not. We'll have to look into that. Usually when it's like that, it's because the end of stroke switch isn't right. So this end of stroke switch, whenever you pull it in, it should open up, which makes it where it doesn't have such a short on it. But that one's adjusted right. But maybe in antiquity it was messed up. What do you think? Everything looks pretty cool. That plunger didn't seem that great though. Look at all the play in this. So look at all that play. So you've turned this on. It has to do all this before it starts moving the flipper. So that's why they're weak, or when they get weak. I don't know if these are weak because I haven't played them. This one on this side's pretty worn out too. Joe, why'd you let the flippers get worn out?
Played it too much.
We haven't really ever played it. We just bought it. And this spring is broke. Look at this. We could probably fix it, but or maybe it hooks on something. Let me look at the other side. On this side, it's down below the screw there. So it might need a little bit of flipper stuff. But it looks complete. So let's see what was in the bottom of it. So all the stuff out of the bottom of it, there's a little bit of insulation. That's always from rats dragging it in there. Here's the original schematics, but they've been completely violated by the bugs and the varmint. The varmint. Right? It's an old piece of paper from Brady Distributing Company. Now, here's what's interesting about this. It's still got the Moorhead Street address. They moved out to Well, wait a minute, that might have been Moorhead Street. They moved out by the airport a long time ago. I need to look that up. I don't think that was Moorhead. All right, let's go look it up. I'm going to have to acquiesce to my memory. Okay, so I looked it up. Yeah, 1900 West Moorhead Street was the original location of Brady. That was way back in the day. So this pinball machine's from the early 60s. And this piece of paper has the old address on it. Now, on the back of this, there is a gentleman's phone number who was one of the repair guys at Brady. But since this is the old address, I mean, I think they moved in the 80s, man. So, but I don't want to put the guy's number out there. So this is their old Moorhead Street address. It's now an empty building, but this is what it looked like. It was Jefferson Pilot Communications for a while, and there was like a sports place. Let's see if we can zoom. Let me see if I can zoom down the street level so I can show you what it looks like today. If I can find it. Yeah, this one. So this building was the original Brady Distributing. So way back in the day, they sold jukeboxes and pinball machines and stuff. And then whenever arcade games came out, they had more going on. So they moved out to the airport. So the one at the airport was on Yorkmont. It was really close to the old Charlotte Coliseum that the Hornets played in the that was built in the late 80s. That completely imploded. Don't get me started. They built, I like old stuff. They built a Coliseum for the Charlotte Hornets. Not to get too political, right? And I'm just talking local politics, right? They built a Coliseum for the Charlotte Hornets in the late 80s or around 1990, something like that. The first year the Hornets were here, they played at the Independence Arena, which is still standing. Beautiful, big old Coliseum built in the late 50s, I think. So they played 1 year there, and then they needed a new Coliseum, right? So they built this huge Coliseum out on Tyvola Road, right around the corner from this Brady Distributing building. And it was huge. It was the biggest arena in the NBA at the time. And they built it just in time for the NCAA tournament. And something like 26,000 fans could fit in it at the time. And it was the biggest Coliseum in the NBA. So the Charlotte Hornets sold out every game, and they set attendance records for like 3 or 4 years in a row, right? And so then the Hornets decided that after a while, that they needed a bigger arena, and they wanted the city to build them another brand new arena, right? Or they needed a smaller arena, or one with more skyboxes in it, or something like that. And so they put it to a vote, and so the citizens of Charlotte, who had just built this big, huge arena for them, voted that no, they didn't want to build them another arena. They had a brand new one that they'd already built, right? And so the vote didn't go through, right? And so the Hornets said, well, screw it then, we're leaving. And so they went to New Orleans. And after I guess it was New Orleans. Believe me, I stopped paying attention after this point. I think they went to New Orleans. But anyway, so they left Charlotte. So then a new team came along, like 2 years later, the Bobcats. The Charlotte Bobcats, right? And so you know what the city did to bring the Bobcats into the town because we really needed a basketball team? They built them a brand new arena downtown, right? So the Bobcats were in town for 2 or 3 years, and ticket sales weren't all that great. So guess what they did? They changed their name back to the Charlotte Hornets. It's a different team, really, though. But anyway, all that big arena was right around the corner from this Brady Distributing building. And so back in the 90s, I wasn't around here in the 80s, but back in the 90s, if you needed stuff worked on, you could go over to Brady, and it was this big, huge building here. And they had just tons of stuff and tons of repair technicians, and they had a big showroom about right here in the building where you went in, and they had all the games set up, and you could go in and just play the stuff for free. So back whenever like Mortal Kombat 2 and everything came out, I was a teenager. I could go over here, and I had a couple games at my house. So I would come over here to buy parts, and you could go in their showroom and just play all the new stuff for free, right? So this is what the Brady Distributing building looked like in the 90s. Big old building, right? So if we go back in Street View, if it'll let us, it probably won't let us. But there used to be a Brady Distributing logo up there. Okay, folks, so just to complete the loop of stuff that has nothing to do with the pinball machine, this is the Charlotte Airport. This is a Google Earth from 1993. Okay, so this is the Brady Distributing building. And you notice the back of it's not on there yet. So it was just this square building. This would have been about the time I used to go there. And then this is the Charlotte Coliseum that they had just built in 90 or so, something like that, 89 or 90, for the Charlotte Hornets. Huge, beautiful, gorgeous building. But the thing was, it didn't have a lot of skyboxes in it. It was just all seats for fans, 26,000 fans, something like that, right? So this is Brady. This is the Charlotte Coliseum, just right around the corner. Right, so this is 1993. So you go forward a little bit. This is 1998 Coliseum. So Brady had built the back end of their building on. Brady is out of business now, so that's why we're going down memory lane here. It's 2002, right? 2003, 2004. So by this time, Brady stays the same. So let's just pay attention to the Charlotte Coliseum, right? So they built this, like I said, in 98, 99, something like that. 2004, 2005, 2006. So by this point, the building is, oh, I don't know. What's that, 18 years old? Something like that. 2007. Boom! 2008, people. They tore down in Charlotte, North Carolina, one of the largest coliseums in the United States in less than 20 years, just for the hell of it. So let's go to modern day. They've made it a bunch of boring little condos, and part of the parking lot's still there. I paid for that. That's tax dollars. But enough about the Charlotte Coliseum. So there wasn't all that much down in the bottom. You know, it's a couple leg bolts and head bolts and stuff. Nothing really all that special. The worst part is all these little pieces of the schematics that are destroyed, right? But some gentleman in the past has bought perfect. Perfect. Let's see what else is in here. Instructions envelope. Completely unnecessary, but hey. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, I've seen this before. Oh yeah, I've seen this before. This gentleman sells these manuals. And so he used to mail you a little list of all of the stuff that he had. This is pre-website days, people. I'll bet he's still around, though. He did have an email address. Let's see what else is in this sucker. He had been on the Internet Pinball Database in 2013. That's not that long ago. He was printing out a little bit of information. Let's see what else we got. Is this yet another copy? Yep, it's another copy. Damn, how many of these did he have? Oh. Okay, so it looks like that's about half of it. Which means this big mess of stuff is probably the other half of it. I hate to do it, people, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it in the trash. That's what I'm going to do. I save things, but there is no damn reason to save pieces of paper that are completely destroyed when you have a perfect copy right here. So I'm going to combat my hoarder tendencies, and don't look, people. I don't want to hear any crap about this. You know, you need to support me in getting rid of some of my trash. Look, I'm trying to keep my showroom all clean. You know, I can't do that if I save all the pieces of rat-infested paper that I find when I've got a perfectly good copy here. Come on. Come on, people. Much better. Now, y'all don't think that pink stuff was cotton candy by any chance, do you? No. The only other thing that was in it was this. And the only thing I can think that this is, it's got one screw hole, is that maybe that's like the corner of a pool table or something. Maybe. Maybe not. All right, folks, we're going to start working on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is start cleaning the contacts underneath the playfield. Now, if you are not sold on this being a cool game yet, right? I've got one thing to show you. There are little metal drop targets of little dudes cheesing, and you hit them, and then the next time you go in, right? This is going to be fun. All right, so I'm going to pop up the playfield and I'm going to start cleaning all of the relays, and if I run into anything interesting, I'll tell you about it. Okay, I didn't run into anything missing or even that I could tell misadjusted, but I cleaned all of the switches, every single one of them. That's right, all of the switches, including the score motor here. And then this reset bank is really interesting. So it had this little cover over it, so I took a screw off and rotated that out of the way. So basically, you know, these certain ones will trip, and then it has this huge coil here that pulls in and pushes this big bar up, and we'll reset all of them at the same time. Pretty cool. But all of that looked fine. Nothing looked bent. So we'll put that cover back on. And this is one of the machines with the old chimes in it. I mean the old bells in it. So you can see them there. They're very large. This one had tape all around it because it was too loud. So I'll plunge them, and you can see hear what it sounds like. So that's the small one. I just barely hit it. So this is the big one. This is just the plunger here. So those are going to sound great. That's going to be fantastic. Yeah, so I didn't see any kind of problems. I'm going to check the fuses to make sure they're the right values according to the schematics. And we pulled the playfield out just to make it easier to get down to everything. So the next thing, I'm going to check the fuses, like I said, and then I'm going to start working in the back box, and we'll see what we can do back there. Okay, folks, so I'm working through the back box, and I've got all the Jones plugs all cleaned up. Look at that. Look how nice. That's how you know it's making good electrical contact. You can run if you want to get something to clean the inside of these plugs, if you get a 17 caliber gun cleaning brush, hopefully they won't boot me off YouTube for saying that word. If you get a 17 caliber gun cleaning brush, it fits in there perfectly. You can spin it around and clean all those little sockets out. So I got that. I've cleaned all the relays. There's not that many. I cleaned the stepper units by taking the disc off and then cleaning the contacts, putting synthetic grease on it like we always do, and then putting it back. One thing I noticed on these, this is a 1963, so it's older than I usually work on. These fit on here a lot harder, so I mean it's hard to get this thing off after you take the nut loose. But I got it where it's all stepping good and everything. And then the same with the match unit. Of course, on the match unit, it only steps one way. It doesn't reset. It just keeps going. Got all that working pretty sweet. I cleaned up some of the Jones plugs that were on like some of the setting plugs and things like that. So now all I've got left to do in the back box is clean these 6 score reels. So I'm going to take those apart and see what's going on with those. Okay, folks, so I've taken one of these score reels apart. Basically, I just took the reel off. Might want to remember which way it goes on. You can figure it out if you get confused. So the way it goes in is the face is where my finger is here. So right now we're on number 5. So as this coil pulls in, it moves this little lever back, and this spring pulls this little plate into a groove. So now we're on 6. See, it slides over. Now we're on 7, 8, 9, 0, 1. So depending on where it's at, it makes different things happen. So right now we're on number 1, and both of these switches here are closed. This one's also closed, and this one's open. So 1, 2, and whenever it pulls in all the way, it opens this one. So this is like an end of stroke switch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, everything's closed at 9. Right? And then when we go to 0, all 3 of those are open. End of stroke switch is closed, of course. Go back to 1. Both of these 2. So I was wrong about this one. This one's not closed except at 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you see there's a little cam there that it's going to ride up. 9, 0. So at 0 it's open. So the reason it does that is because one of these is how it resets it. So to get it back to 0 at the beginning of the game, it sends power through that switch until the switch opens up. So it can't go past 0 if that's the way you're powering the coil, right? And then the one that's at 9, the purpose of it is that if it's closed, the next time, let's say this is the, I think this is the hundreds reel. No, tens reel. The next time you get 10 points, you're at 90, right? And so you get another 10 points. So it sends it through, and it changes this one to 0. And then this one here that was also connected at 9, it also sends through that, and this connects over to the next score reel and also moves it forward 1. So they're all set up the same. Just back then they sued each other over patents and stuff, so everybody's had to be a little different. They did the same thing, but they all had to be different or they would lose a patent lawsuit. So this was how Williams did it, at least in 1963. All right, so I'm going to clean that up and put it back together. The other ones have a little tiny Bakelite plate on it. And if you look really close, the wheel has a little thing that's riding around on rivets on the Bakelite plate. There it is. See it there? So depending on where it's at on the plate, it can tell what number's displayed. So the reason for that is for the match circuitry and the high score circuitry. So this one in the middle they don't need for whatever reason. They don't have to worry about what hundreds you're on whenever you match. So like at the end of the game, let's say at the end of the game the match is the number 2. Well, that means if your second to last number is a 2. So remember, there's 3. I got it wrong. There's 3 reels. So if your last number is a 2. Some people came in. So let's say a 2 comes up for the match, right? Well, if your last number is a 2, you win a free game. So it needs to know on this last reel if you're on 2. So on this one, it only knows if you're on 9 or 0, right? It has no way of knowing if you're on 2. But on this one it does, because they have that little Bakelite board on there and the little wiper going around and touching something, right? So this one has to have the Bakelite board. Now, remember, they were trying to make these as cheap as possible, so they didn't even put it on this one because they had no reason to know how many tens of points you had. But let's say you were trying to win the high score. I don't know if the Playfield. Oh, I got it out of it. Okay, so if you get the high score, you beat the high score or whatever, you also win a free game. So it says point score adjustment. So let's say you've got it set for 900, right? Plug in blue wires for score 100 to 1000. Plug in red wire for scores 1100 to 1900. So let's say it's 900. So you want to win a free game at 900 points. Well, you plug in a certain wire in a certain place according to this diagram, and then it needs to know if you get 900 points. So, or let's say 700, because then it won't be the 9, which is the same. So it needs to be 700 points, right? So in that instance, it doesn't need to know what this one is or this one is. All it needs to know is if that's a 7 or a 8 or a 9 or a 0. It just needs to know if you're above 7. So the same thing on this one. There is a bakelite disc, so that when it spins around, it can tell if you got 700 points or not. So on this middle one, though, they don't have it. But yeah, pretty simple little setup. I'll put it all back together. Like I said, this one, when I had to take it apart because this little thing here was not moving very well, so I had to oil it. And basically, whenever you pulled it in, it wouldn't step forward because that thing was seized. So I oiled it and got it where it moves back and forth now. And it all steps up like it should. So I'll work through the other 5 and we'll see what happens. Okay, folks, so we're rocketing right through it. People ask, why don't you show yourself doing the work? It's just like, I can't really. I mean, I'm working on that switch for a couple seconds, then this switch, and then that switch, and this switch. I don't have time to like set up a perfect angle of that and then move it so now you can see me doing these, and then move it so you can see me doing these. Just a lot of work, unfortunately. And there's nothing really all that interesting about it. It's just the same thing over and over again. But what I can do is show you the stuff that I run into that's interesting, right? So there's this little advanced unit here that I rebuilt. It's exactly like the other ones in the back, pretty much. Everything seemed cool on it, no problems. Now that I say that, though, yeah, that's cool. There's a few little relays. There's a couple types of rollover switches. So there's these are the little pop bumpers that make the switch touch. And then next to it are some little buttons that you roll over on the Playfield and they make a switch touch. But then there are also ones like this one that whenever you roll over it, it opens a switch. So they had different ways of doing things. I took this trough here off. This is the place where the balls fall in the gobble holes. I think Gottlieb called them gobble holes. And you know me, I'm all about the technical pronunciation of things. They fall into gobble holes here, and then it rolls down this track all the way to the front of the machine, and then falls out the end into the outhole area. Right? And different ones, some of them they would, like if you were going to play a 5-ball machine, it would actually have 5 balls in it. And so you can see on this trough that they have room for extra switches. And that's all the stuff where it can tell how many balls you have and where they are and all that. But this is just a 1-ball machine. So because of that, you're able to select if you want to play a 3-ball game or a 5-ball game in the back, you know. This is the tilt bob. People have been asking about those lately. And you can see that they've got this one adjusted way up. You can turn this little screw out to where this thing can drop down. And it's conical shaped, so depending on how far down you are, it makes it where it's closer and closer to this ring. And whenever any of this metal touches the ring is whenever the tilt happens. If I was to slide this way down to where it was filling up almost all of that ring, just any little thing would make it tilt. Right? Oh, you can see how they did their drop targets at the time. These are those painted targets we were looking at in front of the gobble holes. So this coil, when it pulls in it, resets it, pushes it up. It catches on a little lip. Whenever you hit it, it slides off the lip, and the spring pulls it down, makes this switch touch, this one open, and this one shuts itself. I have ordered from Pinball Resource some rebuild kits for the flippers, so we'll get new flipper stuff, but we haven't got it yet. But you know what we have got yet? We've got every little switch, every little relay, every little stepper, every little score reel. We cleaned all of them. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to plug it in and see if it does anything, right? Who knows? It might not do anything. But before we play it a bunch, I have to fix the Playfield. But I'll put the Playfield down and we can watch it and see if it does anything when it comes up. So we've never plugged it in yet, but we've got everything turned on now. So I'm going to plug it in, and I don't know what it'll do once it finally has power. It may not do anything, or it might run through all kinds of stuff. Nothing. It didn't do a thing, people. I wonder if it needs a quarter. You think that's it? Well, you wait till I find a coin switch. There's no power switch that I'm aware of. Alright, let's see if this does anything. Nothing. There must be a power switch that I'm not aware of. Or the main fuse is blown or something. Let me look around and see if I can find anything. There's a button right there that starts it. So something is stuck on. The score reel is stuck in because this 1-point relay is stuck in. Oh, I know what it is. Yeah, let me unplug it. Okay. So basically, all of these rubber rings are screwed up. That's what I was saying earlier about how I didn't want to. I had to work on the Playfield before we got too far. Basically, all these rubber rings are stretched or expanded. There's just all kinds of little issues. So if there's anywhere on here where there's a 1-point switch that's stuck together like this one, has rubber melted to it. So I don't know if that's stuck together or not, but basically this Playfield is so screwed up that we're going to have to work on that before we can actually try to play the thing, obviously. So, I'd like to at least get it in like a game over state, though. I wonder if there's a game over relay I can trip. Okay, yes, so I was able to go in the relay bank and just trip the game over relay and then turn it back on, and I hit the start button, and apparently it didn't have any credits, so it's just sitting here. I haven't replaced the lights of the back glass yet, but that glass looks pretty freaking good already. The game over light's not on, but the flippers aren't working, so I don't think we're in a game. Yeah, okay, good. Alright, so we're going to have to redo this Playfield. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything off of it, clean it all, and then I'm going to repaint a little bit of this stuff down here. It's just bad enough that I can't really leave it. It's a little too rough. And since everything's solid colors, I think I'll be able to pull it off and make it look pretty decent. So we'll see about that. And then stuff like this, over the years people do horrible things. Like, what are you doing? Black rubber rings on a pinball from 1963, and then you doubled them up. Like, why would you do that? And see how it's dragging the Playfield? So it needs new bushings to make this sit up where it's supposed to. So we've got all that stuff on the way, folks. But what do you think? How's it looking so far? I think it's coming along. So, I think that'll be it for the night. On our next video, we'll start on the Playfield. So, make sure and subscribe to us if you haven't already so you can see what happens in part 2. And then we'll do another one where we kind of troubleshoot it. If there's anything to troubleshoot, it might work perfect. I don't know. And then we'll do another one where we play it. But we got a lot of stuff to do. We got to try to get these plastics flat again. Look at that. Needs a little work, people. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Have you ever played this? Do you like these early 60s vintage games? I'll tell you, I like them. I don't know how well it's going to play with those little 2-inch flippers, but I'm rebuilding them, so hopefully they'll be awesome. But if they're not, they're not. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Click our Amazon link if you get a chance. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, if you click our link first, you don't have to sign up or do anything special. You literally just use that link to go to Amazon, and it leaves a little our name up in your URL, and it tells Amazon that we sent you to Amazon. So it gives us part of their profit for anything you buy on Amazon. Now, don't go buy anything you're not going to buy anyways, but we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. That's been helping us out. We're not going to start a Patreon or anything where we ask y'all to send us money or anything. We're a business, so we make money selling these machines and fixing them. We don't want to charge anybody for videos or anything, but we do appreciate whenever people use our Amazon link because it gives us some of Jeff Bezos' money, and nothing makes me happier than getting Jeff Bezos' money. Also, make sure to subscribe to My Brother Donnie, which is our brother channel. We don't have a sister channel, but we do have one brother channel, My Brother Donnie. And he's the craziest of the three of us, right? So he's always doing interesting things. Just yesterday, he went and he bought a 1988 C30 pickup with a flatbed on it and a big old 454 in it, where some old man had passed away, and it's his farm truck, and he's like hell on wheels now with that thing. So he's done a couple videos about that truck. So that's the latest thing. And it's all stuff like that: farming, small engine repair. He hooked me into working on an old mobile home with him. So we bought a mobile home and moved it onto a lot, and then rebuilt it because everything in the house was completely destroyed, and we filmed all that. So if you haven't seen all that stuff or been watching it, go check that out. But the name of his channel is My Brother Donnie, and he can be your brother too if you go subscribe to him, right? So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think about this Jumpin' Jack so far. And I think that'll be it for the evening. We'll see you on the next video very, very soon.